Welcome, everyone, to another episode of A World of Chaos. I am joined by a great guest today. All right, let's just take you behind the curtain. So, I've been podcasting since 2012 now. By the way, this is my first video, 2012. It's been a long year. Computer messed up. I lost like 7 or 8 episodes I pre-recorded last year that I didn't upload. Slowly getting those back. I'm going to start Patreon, so maybe you guys can help me get some equipment. I said I was going to do a Spider-Man No Way Home review. Have a lot of footage for it. Just haven't done it. It's been a long year. So anyway, if you found me here, you probably know me from the Wakanda podcast or possibly from the Knockouts and Three Counts podcast. But before I ever did any of those, I was going to do a podcast. And the first person I thought about was this woman that is podcasting with me today, Shanae. Shanae, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So I have been wanting to get a podcast going with you for a while.
True. Very true.
I am glad it can be on a Marvel movie since we're finally back into the swing of things. We're in Phase 4. It has had its ups and downs. So
It's been a thing.
So we are here today to talk about the newest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I break up things a little differently than what I've done reviews before. So we're going to give you 3 things we each liked, 3 things we didn't like, and 1 little nitpicky thing because we're nerds. It's what we do. They can never say I'm not a gentleman, except a lot of things. Gentleman can't be one of them. So what is one thing that you did like about this film?
So one thing that I absolutely thought was well overdue with Marvel was I liked that they actually flushed Wanda's character in Scarlet Witch out. Marvel has a tendency to give you these one-note villains. And so I was very, very pleased to see
Malekith, Yellow Jacket, Ghost.
Yes. I mean,
I can go on.
The list is about
Mickey
as long
Rourke.
as almost every Marvel movie at this point.
Yeah.
So I was just really happy that they really did my girl justice in that respect of it. And I like that it was a continuation. on WandaVision. I really felt like it went directly from the Disney Plus series.
Yep.
Moved on over to the MCU.
Yeah.
I thought that part of the transition I thought was I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah. WandaVision, I've said it I think it does have some little rose-tinted glass. You look at it with rose-tinted glasses a little because that was the first piece of new Marvel content we had in a while coming out in COVID. So everybody latched onto it. It was the first thing other than The Mandalorian to have Disney Plus for new content. But I really enjoyed WandaVision. I was all in for it. I mean, that was probably some of the funnest TV watching I've had in years.
Absolutely.
Because every week, everybody's talking about what does this mean? Is this Mephisto? Does she know what's going on? So I loved it. And yeah, I'll say one of my favorite things about this film was that it did continue that, and the fact that Benedict and Elizabeth's acting in this movie almost took it above regular Marvel movie.
Spot on.
The last couple Marvel films, and I say couple meaning Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange, not Eternals, not Black Widow.
No, we don't talk about Eternals. We don't.
But the acting in those films by Tom Holland and especially Andrew Garfield and Zendaya, and then now with Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen, the acting has really become something that is at the forefront of these movies, not just the spectacle and not just the fact that it's another movie in the machine, but their acting was really superior in this film, and it really brings you in. Bless you. I took my mother to see this for Mother's Day, and she didn't see WandaVision, so I did have to explain some of WandaVision to her. But she still got Wanda's story. She still got her pain. She still got why she is a sympathetic villain, and the fact that this really was a Wanda movie just as much as it was a Doctor Strange film.
And let's use and even with the term villain, this is my own personal bias, but I just cannot fully see Wanda as a villain, because in this particular installment, I completely was on her side. I was on her side back in Westview.
She been through some stuff, man. She needed to win.
She went through some stuff, and she was
Wanda
nice
needed
enough to take care of their student loans and to give them mortgage-free, living quarters. And I didn't see anybody in Westview struggling. So
nope, but wasn't no ghetto in Westview, man.
There wasn't no ghetto in Westview. It looked ghetto after she left.
Right.
It definitely gave.
She hooked y'all up.
Okay.
She gentrified that part of Jersey.
Wesley Nichols, okay, after she left. But I when it comes to their performance, Benedict Cumberbatch, I have only seen him in a couple of his projects outside of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, in the back of my mind, I always kind of identify him like he's always going to be Doctor Strange to me. The same way that Tony Stark is always going to be Robert Downey Jr. and Captain America is always going to be America's ass.
It's funny too. I remember when they were casting for Doctor Strange back in 2016, and the person that turned them down was Joaquin Phoenix. They really heavily wanted him. This is before Joker. This is before he ever took Joker. That's the only reason he took Joker is because he didn't want to tie himself down to a multi-film contract. He just wanted to be a one and done. And I'm like, yeah, he's a good actor, but I don't think he's a Marvel guy.
No.
And then when they announced Benedict, I'm like, Sherlock. I can see him doing this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There are certain actors, like you can see, like there's two actors. One, and by the way, this is going to be a spoiler review. If you haven't noticed with my reviews already, so if you have not seen Doctor Strange and Multiverse Madness, watch it, then come back and watch this.
Yeah.
Please. So there's another actor who I'll get into in a second, talking about the post-credit scene. There are two actors that I've been saying need to be in Marvel. Yeah. Ryan Gosling is the first one.
No.
They've already cast the role now, and I don't mind the casting. In the next Guardians of the Galaxy film, Volume 3, they've cast Adam Warlock, but I'm like, they needed Ryan Gosling as Adam Warlock. I'm like, he looks like him from the comics. He's a great actor. I'm like, that would be something. But they've cast Will Porter. He's a great actor. They cast him as Adam Warlock. So I'm like, all right, they're going more the comedic route. I honestly think they should have got Matthew McConaughey to play him, but that's there. But the other one, Charlize Theron. And I am 100% honest, I did not know who the hell she was in the end credit scene.
I was so, by the time she came on screen, I was so ready to go. And I feel like I would have enjoyed seeing her more if I would have seen her earlier in the film. To wait until a post-credit scene to introduce an actress that I don't know how Marvel kept this one under wraps, because I didn't hear anything.
I give them credit for that.
At all.
I give them credit to keep one of the biggest A-list actors under wraps.
Yeah,
that I give them credit for that. Now all over her Instagram, she's posting all the behind the scenes stuff that she shot with all her makeup and everything.
Yeah, and I think she'll do a phenomenal job. I don't think I have one single performance from Charlize that I did not absolutely fall in love with, but I didn't want them to wait until the post-credit scene to give me that. Like, give me that in the last 5 minutes of the movie. Give me that in the last 5 seconds.
And that's a good segue
to the post-credit scene.
That's a good segue. My first things I'll say that I did not like about this film,
man,
it is probably the only Marvel film I can remember where the post-credit scene ruined the ending of the film. because when Strange comes out into the street and then he just falls to the ground in pain and you see the third eye open. For one, that was a great Sam Raimi thing. Because this, you can tell this was a Sam Raimi film, and I love that. Being he's a Michigan guy, grew up watching The Evil Dead, so I could tell this was a Sam Raimi movie. And just that little stinger at the end of the film, I loved it. And then cut to the end credits scene, and he's just walking around fine. Like,
yeah, it took something away. I felt like
takes
it changed
away
the
from
tone.
It did, because that was shocking. It was funny, and then it's like, oh my god, now what's gonna happen to Strange? And then you cut to it, and he's already walking down the street again. He's fine. I'm like, oh, so I guess you got over that pretty quick.
Yeah, for me to piggyback off of that, I'll say for me, one of the many.
That was a big sip.
Many things that I did not care for in this movie. The tone just kept the tone and the time management. And I would have to say, for me, if they would have left it at just that post-credit scene where it's just him falling to the ground, you don't know what's going on, and then boom, Doctor Strange will return. I would have been like, okay, so they were going somewhere with all of this. By introducing that other post-credit scene with Charlize Theron right after that, it took me a second to think, like, okay, wait, is this the same universe? It's not the same universe. Yeah. Is it? Okay, wait, he has the eye again, and he seems fine. So was it just unexpected, like a Netflix payment? Like, was it just, you know what I mean? Like, what was it? And I wish that they would have picked one tone for the ending and then just stuck with that the entire way through. And it would have made, for me, I think it just would have made for a much better movie. I think it would have gotten the Sam Raimi hit. I'm not a Sam Raimi fan. He just don't do it for me. I don't know.
I get that. And if you're not necessarily a horror fan.
Yeah, I'm not a campy horror person. Like, I want to see pain and suffering and blood and gore.
Well, if you want blood, then he gave you that in Evil Dead. He gave you that.
But I also want story, and I want the story to make sense. And wow, there was just so much in this that just did not make sense to me. Like, it just.
I've been hearing that on certain reviews I've been looking at. I'll say one other good thing. The second good thing I would say that I liked about this was it wasn't too long. You know, like, a lot now we've been getting some long in the tooth movies. The Batman just recently came out, which, I'm gonna do a review, guys. Just subscribe. I'm gonna do a review. That's 3 hours. It was a 3-hour movie, but that didn't seem like a 3-hour film to me. I talked to a buddy of mine the other day, and he was apprehensive on watching. He's like, man, this movie's 3 hours. And I'm like, I will compare the Batman's runtime and the pace of the film to Infinity War. Infinity War was a 3-hour movie that did not feel like a 3-hour movie. It just flowed well. Yeah, it was 3 hours, but you
would give that to the Batman?
The Batman, I say it was a fast 3 hours. Like, that was
really
good. I love the Batman. I loved it. I've been a Pattinson fan ever since he was announced for the film. I've been on board for it, and I love the film. I've been waiting for this movie since 2016, when it was supposed to be Ben Affleck as Batman, also writing and directing it. And it was supposed to be him basically stuck in Arkham Asylum. Then everything else with DC being the shit show that it is happened. And now we got Matt Reeves from Planet of the Apes movies and Robert Pattinson, which I'm fine. But it flowed well. And the movie was, I think, a little over 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, it didn't, not too many scenes draw too long. Not too many scenes like really felt like it was just an exposition dump. Like, it moved pretty fast for me. So I'm like, all right, that was pretty good, because I love Spider-Man Far From Home. I love it. But at a certain point, some of the scenes, I'm like, yeah, you could have cut like 20 seconds here, 30 seconds here. when X happens to X character, with great power, you could have cut that scene down by like a little good 45, 50 seconds for me. So I'm like, all right. So this one, the thing I'm like, all right, it was a pretty good 2 hours. It was a good runtime.
See, I'm on the opposite end of that because I feel like for this movie, this is one of the rare. I do agree. Let me say this first. I do agree that I am noticing that now with the movies that we're getting, you're seeing the runtime hit that 3 hour mark plus. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would say for me, it was a 2 hour and 6 minute runtime movie that felt like a 3 hour movie to me. And I think the reason why it felt like a 3 hour movie to me was because, again, of that pacing issue. I feel like I wanted them to, if you're going to say multiverse of madness, I wanted two things. I wanted multiverse and I wanted madness.
That is the biggest complaint I've heard about this film.
And
I didn't feel the multiverse.
We didn't get it. We didn't, like, out of all the universes to go to, you picked the one with pizza rolls.
And that's funny to me because we talked earlier this week. One of the writers of this film is one of the writers on Rick and Morty. That's the reason they brought them in, for their experience writing multiversal stories. And I'm like, that is something that's really popular now. You've made the multiverse. You made Spider-Man, into the multiverse. So you have to show the differences. They walk on red and they have pizza balls. That's the only difference in the other main universe that we spend the most time in. Well, there is something else in that universe, and I'll use that for my last thing that I liked about this film. I finally got my John Krasinski as Reed Richards.
Oh yeah, cameo.
The Illuminati. So, and this is 100% spoiler if you haven't been on the internet. Yes, we got the Marvel Illuminati, and it is as true to the comics as you could possibly be with the characters that we have access to now. You got Blackagar Boltigan. I hate when I say his real name. Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans, played by the same actor. I forget his name. Ansel. He's actually on Beyond. He's actually the new captain on the new Star Trek show. It's played by the same actor that played him in the horrible 2016 Inhumans TV show, which that show was bad. He was good in it, but that show was bad. You got the What If live action version of Captain Peggy Carter, played once again by Haley Atwell. Ah man, that woman ages like Paul Rudd. And when you think about it, she's been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since 2011.
Yes, since Agent Carter.
She's actually got, if you add up her appearances, I'm like, she's right up there with Evans and RDJ for multiple appearances in the MCU. She was in, technically, yes, you did see her face in Civil War, so she had an appearance in all three Cap movies. She had an appearance in Endgame. She had an appearance in Age of Ultron, Captain Carter in the What If, the one shot of Peggy Carter, 2 seasons of her amazing TV show, which was really good, What If, and now this. So she's got some. She's actually, I think she might have the most. I might have to look that up. She might have the most comic book appearances as one character for a woman. Yeah, she's up there. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
Well, unfortunately, that was not enough to save her.
That her death was the most brutal to me. I talked to my best friend Brian. He said the Black Bolt death was the most brutal one. I'm like, Peggy got cut in half.
I feel like there was a brutal death for me. By the time we got to the Illuminati, I was starting to kind of, again, due to the pacing, it just, my mind was already all over the place. I wanted to really just kind of get to the point. By that time, I had already written off what the movie was going to be. I'll say that while I appreciate who they chose as now I don't know anything about the Illuminati in the comic book world at all.
That is the Marvel Illuminati. And in the comics, you also have Tony Stark, Iron Man, and you also have Black Panther.
Which
I understand why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's why they substituted Captain Marvel and Captain Carter. I love seeing Lashana Lynch as Captain Marvel.
I did.
They
like
gave
seeing
her nothing to do in Captain Marvel's film.
I did enjoy seeing her. I'll say for my second, what I felt like really worked for the movie, I would say, because there's so not a lot. Let me dig deep. Okay, I like the fact that Wanda did not waste a lot of time establishing why she they did not. When it got to that scene where she's in the little cherry blossom bed, bath and body workshop and chipping off the things, like I absolutely, it happened so fast that I actually kind of really wasn't ready for it. I was like, okay, wait, so she lied? So there's no
caught it.
Like, I didn't catch it for a second.
When she was talking to Steven and she says her, and she says America's name or something, she laments that she already knows, and he didn't say anything if it was a man or
I didn't
a woman.
catch any of it. I didn't catch that at all. So I was very pleased with how fast they got to that point.
And I like the fact that he caught that, because that shows how smart he is, because he's arguably now the smartest man in the world. The fact that he caught it says a lot about his character. I'll say, for the second thing, what I do like about the movie is I liked how it showed the progression of his arrogance and how it really gave you character development for Doctor Strange. I think that was maybe the only part in this where I would say that it did feel like a Doctor Strange movie. But initially I said that I felt like for it to be a Doctor Strange movie, it was really more of a Scarlet Witch movie. But when you take into account the character development that's going on in the background with the decisions that he makes, about the lessons that he learns from the alternate universes, decisions. Also what he learned from Spider-Man Far From Home. Because that whole situation is because of his ego.
Yeah, and you can tell, because who in their right mind, what grown-ass man in a right mind would have even listened to a teenager in the first place?
And then to cast that type of spell.
Exactly. Like, I couldn't even convince my mama to do the Parent Plus loan when I was going through college. So I completely couldn't. This is one of those things that you just have to, again, suspend that, that belief. But
I was watching one of my favorite video YouTuber for movie reviews is Jeremy Johns. He keeps his reviews short, succinct. My guy since he's the first reviewer. Like, I know a lot of people love Stuckman. I like Chris Stuckman, but sometimes his slow delivery gets me. Jeremy Johns,
a little dry.
Yeah, Johns, that's my guy. And he mentioned, he's like, when you look at Doctor Strange from the first film through Infinity War, Far From Home, through this, you see the progression of his character and how he is an arrogant asshole and makes no apologies for it. And that is a flaw that he needs to change, and he did at the end of this movie. I think he's now really becoming one of my favorite characters in the MCU. And the fact that I said this from 2018, he was my MVP of Infinity War, because if it wasn't...
Really?
Think about it. He almost single-handedly beat Thanos. Like, he took Thanos, he knocked Thanos down. He got Thanos to like a 3 count. I mean, he throws the mirror dimension at him.
Close as Wanda. He didn't come as close as Wanda now.
No. But that shows how they were the two most powerful.
Thanos had to cough back up when Wanda stepped on the damn scene. For him, he definitely, again, I think, with Doctor Strange as a character, I do love to see the progression. I'm not sure where else progress character-wise they can go from this point.
I think the next time you see him is going to be a while too, because if anything I've heard now about where we're going, now the assumption is because they maxed out in the first 3 phases of what you could do with interconnected stories to go 23 movies deep. all of them connecting, but still being separate films, but leading to the overarching Avengers event. And Endgame was the perfect culmination of it. They said they were going to start making more single-focused films. You got Shang-Chi, you got Black Widow, you got Eternals. None of those involved other Avengers. Now you do have Spider-Man, and then you have this one, which do have multiple Avengers in them. But you could now not have to do all of your homework, so to say. I think you're going to lead, the assumption is we're going to lead to Secret Wars. Since you're going to eventually have the X-Men, you're going to eventually have the Fantastic Four. They're all going to have to fight each other. You're going to need some overarching big bad, which I hope is Galactus or Doctor Doom to lead towards. That's probably going to be it. But until then, you have the little stuff. So I think it's probably going to be a while before you see him again, because after that end credits scene.
I hope not. And here's the thing. I feel like with Marvel, going through the 22 movies worked back then because there was no streaming. There was no, it was groundbreaking. So in that respect, Marvel did the damn thing. However, now, your core audience is a lot older. And I do not have the time nor the resources to donate for another 22 movies.
Yeah.
Even
the TV shows.
Have it. Or even TV shows. I do not have it.
I got one episode of Moon Knight in, none of Hawkeye. I still got 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes of Loki, which I already know the spoiler.
I am completely caught up on all the series. I will say this, and this brings me to the second thing that I did not like about this movie, is that I feel like, and this is why I kept saying the pacing. With the Disney Plus shows, there's been a certain pace. It may have slowed down a little bit, but it never slowed down so much that you felt like, okay, damn, when is this going to be over? For me, with this movie, it definitely felt like, okay, when is this going to be over? Because you have these characters that we've never seen before, like America Chavez, and I still have no damn clue where she came from, what her power actually is.
That was my last thing I didn't like about it.
What her motivations were. I could not care less about this girl. And I hated that because I wanted to see her really break through. I feel like other than Scarlet Witch, if we were just completely going to leave Doctor Strange in the background, if it was character development, she should have been the very next one where we saw for the first time and we walked away like, damn.
Yeah.
Instead, I kind of walked away like,
oh yeah, she was in this movie.
So, yeah. So apparently now she's going to be a sorcerer too, because that's a thing, I guess.
Yeah. And then the fact that her powers are her powers are defined, the fact that she can make star-shaped interdimensional
portals. And again,
oh, how?
If they would have simply dedicated just a little bit of extra time, just a smidge. I didn't want this to be a 3-hour movie, but I was at least expecting a 2-hour, 30-40 minute movie. And from what the rumors have been, is that originally this movie was slated to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. However, due to things going on in production, it got scaled back. So I'm wondering, I would have loved to have seen what a 2-hour, 40-minute Multiverse of Madness would have looked like. I would have loved to have seen how that would have changed things. And I'm extremely curious how much COVID-19 and how that stopped production. I'm very curious as to what this movie would have looked like without COVID shutting everything down and switching up the order of the Disney Plus movies that we got. The last thing that I didn't like was simply just that I feel like we have been consistently fed the same thing and marketed the same thing, that they are going to somehow integrate the Disney Plus side of Marvel and the MCU, and I did not see that integrated at all.
Yeah. Because honestly, if you didn't watch WandaVision and the last time you saw Scarlet Witch was in Endgame, you're really confused about why she's talking about kids and where's Vision? Where's Vision? And that's the thing. I think they should have at least addressed that, because that was a 600-pound gorilla in the room.
Exactly.
You want to calm her down. You want to temper her killing everybody. Bring Vision in. Let him calm her down, and that squashes everything. He is the one thing that could have literally stopped her before she killed.
And that's exactly what I mean. I feel like this was a movie where they really could have benefited from flushing things out. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit more. I didn't need it to be a cameo fest. I didn't need that. I needed Agatha, especially if you're gonna be in her head. If you're gonna send Charles Xavier into her head. That would have been, even if it was just for a second, even if we just saw some purple smoke or some shit like that. I
did like that. If you pay attention, you see how the Darkhold is really taking over, and that's the one thing. That's my one nitpick. Is if you are a fan of WandaVision, you know what the Darkhold does. You've seen Agatha's backstory, so you know it takes a toll on you and is really influencing you. Mm-hmm. So it was probably a lot of the Darkhold that was really motivating Wanda when she didn't even know it. And especially if you look at the end credit scene of WandaVision, where she's using the Darkhold now, and she hears her kids, screaming to her. That's her motivation more so. Like, 'cause she went through her journey on WandaVision was amazing. The journey she went on, she literally went through all 5 stages of grief, and she really came to a point of acceptance.
Until we get to this movie. And that's the thing, is that, again, if they would have spent just a little bit more time flushing out the little things, the devil is really in the details. And if they would have just spent, I would have even been cool for settling for like a 5-minute, something on the Darkhold, to include the Darkhold, to include Agatha, and to include Vision. Yeah. And I would have been, it would have been perfect. It would have been seamless, the transition between WandaVision and this. And for me, the fact that they just kind of just ignored it, like didn't even address it at all. Yeah. It wasn't even an afterthought. I thought that was it was a huge opportunity that was missed. And at what point are they going to be able to go back and retcon that? Because
they kind of retconned her. They kind of retconned WandaVision almost,
and the multiverse, too. It's like, at this point, I don't know who the hell messed up the multiverse. I don't know if it was Loki. I don't know if it was my boy Pete, Spider-Man. I don't know if it was I don't know who it was, and it seems like it's something that was so huge that I just cannot imagine that nobody at Marvel, not Kevin Fajita or anybody, would have caught that.
It seems like this one, and like you said, because of COVID messing up the release schedules, it does show that they kind of try to course correct mid stride, and it does show, especially in this one, not so much with No Way Home, but with this one, it seems a little almost sloppy. They're still not batting 1,000. They're not batting 1,000 anymore, but they're still hitting more homers out the park than the defined.
Still not DC.
Defined competition over at Warner Discovery or whoever owns them this week.
Right. So, for me, it felt like the whole movie just kind of felt like, well, we're not DC.
They really like. All right, so if you want to say the worst Marvel film, MCU film, is Eternals or Captain Marvel or Incredible Hulk. I did not enjoy Captain Marvel or Eternals, but they're still better than Batman v Superman or Justice League. And the Snyder Cut was better than Justice League,
but it should not have taken 4 hours.
It shouldn't take 4 hours, and it's still a shitty film. I'm gonna stop. I've been accused. I am known as the DC sniper. I'm not gonna keep doing this.
I won't go that far. Now, the Batman was a shit film. The Batman was shit. When you do that review, call me, because that there's no reason why I was smoking this, and it was still shit to me. Like, it was.
I will make that my next review. That will be the next review.
It was a waste of my zigzag. It was a waste of. I could have been playing Back for Blood.
I will make sure that is the next review I do.
So
talking about Multiverse of Madness, I know you did not have a great time with it, but if you had to give this film a rating, how would you rate it? Objectively, how would you rate this? And mind you, it's going versus every other film in the MCU.
Ooh.
That's the thing. When I give my MCU ratings, I'm rating this versus every film. So this is going versus Winter Soldier, First Avengers, Iron Man. I'm ranking them versus each other. How would you rank this film? And I think we have like 2 minutes
I would
left.
say not as bad as the Eternals, but not as good as any of the ones that you would think are good. Like, it was just
scale of 1 to 10.
Okay, I can't do a scale of 1 to 10, but I would say if we're looking at the movie as a bottle of Moscato, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the movie was so good that you would finish the bottle. It's a movie that has the bottle, put it back in the fridge. If you're gonna do a second watch, wait for it on Disney Plus. I would not. MCU will not be getting any more of my hard-earned coins on this particular film.
If I'm rating this at 1 to 10, a 1 being Eternals and a 10 being the first Avengers film and Winter Soldier, I'm gonna rank this 7.5. It's mid-tier, but still high mid-tier. I didn't have as much fun with this that I had with No Way Home, but I had more fun with this than I've had with Eternals, Black Widow, and I did enjoy Shang-Chi. I enjoyed Shang-Chi, but I enjoyed this a little more.
Yeah, a smidge more.
Well, I thank you for joining me finally. For
no problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Let's hope we do this again soon.
Yes. If anybody wants to find you, do you want to give out your social medias?
Yes. So you can find me on my Instagram, NabyTay, Nay_B_Tay, or you can find me on Facebook at Shanae Tatum.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you are subscribing and throw a like and a comment. Let me know what you thought of this film. If you're following this in podcast form, A World of Chaos, make sure you're sharing it out to let people know about this type of content. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Team Kayos. I thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this. Nerd responsibly.